All right, ladies and gentlemen, NBA 2K25, I've had it for a little over 48 hours. I got it a day early. Shout out to my guy Stacks Montana hitting me up asking if I wanted it. And that's huge. Like, as a creator, to have the game early, to be able to tinker with the game and create content for y'all early is a blessing. So again, shout out to Stacks for even hitting me up, because y'all know I've been kind of no contact with 2K in general for a few years now. Don't get invited to the events and stuff because I'm a critical gamer. I'm gonna talk about the negative aspects of games when they happen, and Lord knows 2K has a bunch of negative aspects, and that's what we're doing today. We're gonna talk about it. And I want to say right up front, I've had a ton of fun on the park and a ton of fun on the rec as of today. You know, a lot of things change. 2K does have a tendency of tinkering with the shooting because the community says it's too hard or the defense is changing. But as of today, that part of the game, magnificent. It's been extremely fun to play rec and park with the guys. But the part that I care about the most, y'all call me the internet general manager, right? We talking about the eras. We talking about my league, MyGM, my NBA. Is that what it's called? Yeah, all of those modes. That's what you know me as. And I'm not surprised or even disappointed in this next sentence because I'm kind of used to it at this point. But this whole portion of the game is so rushed and just they don't really care about it, man. And that's not a surprise, right? I've been creating the content on this portion of the game for, 7 years? And I don't know if I even have been remotely happy with the way the product has existed. I've just always tried to do my best and create the best videos I can on a broken game, right? And because it's the only real NBA game that exists, then I'm gonna do what I can on NBA 2K. But again, I've had it for 48 hours and it's so broken. It's bad. And look, I'm not mad at things that can be fixed with a patch. A lot of games come out, good or bad, that are not to the best port or have bugs here or there. I'm not tripping about the fact that my career, there's a duplicate player of myself on my team. I could not care less about that because I know eventually that will get patched. And when it comes to like my eras and stuff like that, there's not a lot that they could do to change it. Like, I'm not one of those critical fans. What I want the most when it comes to that is more logical decision making from the opposing general managers, logical signings, hell, a buyout market which still does not exist in the game, more logical contracts, so that when we get 5 years into the career, there's not 85 overall players sitting in free agency. All of that stuff is still happening. And that's not a fix that gets upgraded with a patch. But we should have known things were not going to be great from the very early on. Let me showcase this. So I don't know if Pete was the original guy to have this tweet out, but it had been talked about the moment 2K came out of all of the players that were removed from the next game. And a lot of these dudes, I'll be honest with you, whether Myers Leonard is in the game or not, I could not give a damn about. Whether Dwayne Dedman, Rodney McGruder, these guys towards the bottom of the list, no disrespect to them at all, they don't really impact the gameplay for me. But when you incorporate something we're calling a Steph Curry era, and John Wall, who was one of the top point guards of the time, Blake Griffin, who was one of the top players at the time, and Iggy, who won a Finals MVP on Steph Curry teams, when those dudes are not in the game, that just shows you how forced things work. Now, in 2K's defense, there's not much they can do when it comes to the rights of certain players. The reason John Wall, Blake Griffin, and Iggy and these guys are not in the game right now is because they played a 0 seconds last year. And the way it works when it comes to the NBA license and rights, you have to have played NBA minutes in order to have the rights through the collective bargaining agreement or whatever the contractual thing is. So since Blake Griffin did not play last season, since John Wall and Iggy did not play last season, their rights have expired. But the rights of the other dudes, there's a fly in here and it's going to piss me off. The rights of Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, the retired dudes still exist, right? So they couldn't do anything about Iggy not getting a contract last year or Blake Griffin retiring last season. They couldn't do anything about that. But what they could have done is written up their own contracts to help these dudes be incorporated in the game, because you cannot tell the story of the Steph Curry era without Andre Iguodala. The Steph Curry era without Iggy? What? Like, yeah, the Clippers did not go to the finals, or hell, they didn't even make a conference finals run, but those Clippers teams, it is weird when I load up the Steph Curry era, and I'm like, I'm about to go get my favorite player of all time, Chris Paul, the championship, and it's like Chris Paul, then DeAndre Jordan. We missing somebody, ain't we? We missing a all-NBA player. We're missing a guy that finished top 5 in MVP one year. They're not in the game. So how can we say this is the Steph Curry era with some of the biggest competition and the biggest teammates are not there? It's frustrating. And the people over on Reddit, listen, There's a lot of bad things you can say about Reddit. I mean, a lot of bad things you can say about Reddit. But my guy, Tropical Wendigo, had a full analysis like 8 hours after the game dropped. He said, I'm going to do it. So let me explain this in its entirety, right? So Tropical Wendigo, he said that he's a spreadsheet nerd. And one thing he wanted to do was kind of check for the completeness of the errors, right? Because in my opinion, if we're talking about traversing errors, which in the idea of it, it's phenomenal. I can go back to play with a young Kobe or a 2003 LeBron, or hell, the prime version of the Golden State Warriors. It's such a great idea, and the content that you can create from it is endless. The fun you can have from it is endless, especially if you're like me, who became an NBA fan in 2003. They literally are supposed to have a game mode that is when I became an NBA fan. So I can relive my young life as a fan. But one thing that is extremely important when we're going back there is the completeness. Because if we don't have nearly complete rosters, then it's not the same feel. So what Tropical Wendigo did is that he saw that Blake Griffin, John Wall, and Iggy were not in the game. He said, hey, I want to see how complete these rosters really are. I want to see, is each team well represented enough to make it feel like the era that they're proposing? And this is the way he did it. So each team traditionally has about 15 players who use that as a baseline. He did not even take into account the caliber of the player, right? So Iggy not being in the game counts the same amount. I don't want to take no shots. As Keon Doolan. I don't even know. I'm just saying a guy that would be the 10th to 12th man on a lot of rosters. They equal the same in this experiment. Now, he came up with 5 different categories, y'all. 5 different categories. And now I'm sneezing and stuff. My apologies. 5 different categories. The first one is exceptional, which means that all 15 players are accounted for. That means that 2K did their due diligence completely, and this team is a one-to-one replication of real life. Is that the word I'm looking for? Regardless, that means that team is perfect. Then we got excellent, where they have at least 12 players. And you know what? I can work with 12 players. That is a full 10-man rotation plus some. Again, sometimes that might mean the 13th or 14th or 15th player is not on the roster. That's not important because those dudes weren't going to play for me anyway. Then you got decent, which is 10, which is like, we can make it work. That's a full 10-man rotation. I guess that's fine. And then we have subpar, which are less than 10 people, which means that you can't get a full 10-man rotation. And then you have literally unplayable. What is the point of having a team if we have 8 players that are real? 8? And again, they don't tell you the caliber of that 8 because Blake Griffin might not be there. Just 8. And here are the stats of it all. So in the Steph Curry era, which is the new era, by the way, this is the one that they've been working on for the last year. The Steph Curry era, 73% of the rosters are either subpar or unplayable. 73%. Are we being real here? 73%. Now, if that is not a testament to a rushed idea and execution, I don't know what is. Because when they first introduced the eras into the game, it was Jordan era. And the Jordan era, which is in the 90s, they're more represented than Steph Curry era, which I think takes place in 2016, not even a full 10 years ago. Because I think that the idea of the Jordan and Kobe era was something they really, really worked on for a long time. They had to go back to go get the rights of all these old-ass dudes. But the Steph Curry era, 73% are either subpar or unplayable. And hell, there are 17% of rosters with literally, my blood pressure, with literally 17% of the teams, and I'm loading up the game. I just turned on the PlayStation to see what these things look like. 17% of these teams do not have 8 or more players. That's absurd. Because again, the idea of an era is to relive and replay and change history. Now, if you are the fan of one of those 17% teams, you can't take your favorite team and try to have them beat Steph Curry in a 7-game series because, hell, you don't have a full team. All right, I'm loading it up. 1 second. And again, I do want to say I've had so much fun. I play on Xbox. You just saw that. It said my player wasn't created. I play on Xbox, all right? But I record on PlayStation. I don't need to explain that to you, okay? Either way, I've had so much fun on the other game modes, or really just the park and stuff. But let's take a look. And oh my God, prime example right here. The Hornets are the very first team. They have Roy Hibbert, young Christian Wood, Ramon Sessions, Frank Kaminsky, Cody Zeller, Nicholas Batum, they don't even have a shooting guard. Are we being for real? They don't have a shooting guard. So their potential starting lineup, if you load it up with the Charlotte Hornets today, it's Kemba and Ramon Sessions starting together. Then it's Batum, then it's Christian Wood, and then it's 3 centers. But you don't have a shooting guard, a backup shooting guard. You ain't got no backup small forward, power forward. It's bad. So that's one team already. The Knicks are one of the most popular teams in the world as far as like just how many fans they have. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 as well. They have 8. And again, it goes on and on. The Lakers are one of the teams that have a full 10-man made. This might even be more a 12-man rotation. And then you go to the Orlando Magic. And what I'm seeing now that I'm here is that a lot of the teams that don't have their full team are teams that are not competitive. But still, if I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan, I want to take my not so competitive team and turn them into a Steph Curry competitor. But you can't do that if you're trading away Johnny Mobley, the auto-generated 6'7" small forward. And again, I cannot get over the fact that even the team that this is supposed to be about does not have Andre Iguodala. They got almost everybody else, but they do not have Iguodala. And that's broken. The Wizards have Bradley Beal by himself. This is so crazy to me, bro. And again, that is like a representation of it being rushed and or lazy. Because if I am running this company, which I'm not, hit me up. No, I'm joking. This will be an idea that I completely scrap based on that alone. Yeah, I mean, you're 73. I want y'all to remember 73%, bro. 73% is a crazy amount. More than 7 out of every 10. More than 7 out of every 10 that we see of these teams are not even close to being playable. Like, look at the Clippers. Look at the Clippers. Are we being real? Allen Anderson's in the game, though. That's kind of cool. But that's just one of the points here. Because then he has his own analysis. The Kobe era is the most complete era. Again, I think that's one that they really took their time with. Almost 80% of teams being decent or higher, completeness is solid. Because I'm not unrealistic here. I'm not expecting every single era to have 100% of the people. I think that would be dope, but I know it's unrealistic. The Jordan era isn't far behind with a 2-to-1 ratio of decent teams to subpar teams. The Steph era isn't quite as bad as the Kobe era is good, but frankly doesn't have much to show for it. Having 73% of teams subpar is bad, and the lowest number of excellent teams by a not so close margin is not ideal. They have 7% excellent teams. That is lower than the Magic and Bird era. Lower than the Magic and Bird era. This is the new part of the game. That is insane to me. And I think it goes back to the fact that they probably spent a lot of time, they spent a lot of time on the park. They spent a lot of time with the My Career type game modes because that's the one that people plays the most. And they needed a reason to get us excited, the MyGM spots, or My League spots. And this was like, what about a Steph Curry era? Yeah, let's just add another era this year. And they didn't have the time or resources to really make it good. And that's a problem to me. It's a problem. It's not an exclusively 2K problem, but Lord knows they do it a lot. A lot of games be coming out with these rushed-ass ideas, and it bothers the hell out of me that the idea of you have to pre-order a game for I don't have to, but you pre-order a game for $130, and the goddamn game mode has 73% of teams not even close to being playable. That's crazy. But that's just one of my problems here. Yesterday I dropped a video on my gaming channel. I tried NBA 2K25's new MyGM. You see, I had to put the new in the stars because it's not very new. And if you have not watched the video, that's completely okay. I'm not tripping about that at all. I'll explain to you what happened in this video. I tried the MyGM mode. I take over the Atlanta Hawks, right? The Atlanta Hawks, I picked them because they're a middle of the pack team. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I can do this. And I talked to Trae Young. I talked to all of these people. First year, we get all the way to the conference finals. We end up losing. Second year comes around. And y'all know, if you've been around MyGM for some time, you know that MyGM, the idea of it is that I'm meeting with the owner of the team. I'm meeting with the CFO, the players, and everybody has their own storyline, their own conversation. You have to do your best GM impersonation and traverse all of these different obstacles to go win a championship. I do the entire year number 1 flawlessly. It's fun. Year number 2 comes around, and guess what happens? Every thing that happened to year number 1 happened again. Trae Young walked into my office and told me the exact same thing he told me last year. My coach made the exact same jokes that he made last year. My owner said the exact same thing every season. And Kenny, what if this was just the first 2 years? After I finished this video, I played for 3 more seasons. What do you think happened, y'all? So, hey guys, we got this new game. NBA 2K25 is dropping. We got the Steph Curry era, rushed. We got the MyGM era, or the MyGM thing. I don't even know how they can advertise this as a feature, bro. The way they talked about it in that one interview where they were sitting on the couch, Mike Wang, and then the other guy, I don't know the other guy's name, my apologies, no disrespect. They're talking about it and making it seem, matter of fact, let's react to the shit that they say. I'm pissed now. I'm just mad. I'm all sweaty. Let's yeah, bro, let's react to the stuff that they said in this, because I don't remember if I enjoyed what they said, but I can tell you that they didn't perform on their promises. I'll tell you that much. I still have to experiment a little bit more. I don't think any of this actually matters. Again, I played 7 seasons of it, and it did not feel like anything was different. I didn't feel like when I had an offensive coach that my team was better offensively. I didn't feel like I was finessing GMs when I was the business-minded guy. I don't really know.
An ex-player, maybe you want to be a savant that skips with spreadsheets, or maybe you're a closer, that you know that your battlefield is the boardroom. From there, you get to choose your attributes. Everyone's on fire in elimination games. Really make sure that you can close them out.
This sounds pretty dynamic, so how can a player
It's not dynamic. Spoiler alert.
grow in the mode using these new features?
Great question. So the old staple for MyGM was that you'd be given tasks. Now that's been transferred to a conversation where, say you have the team governor, he tells you, hey, I want to swap out all the starters.
Bro, this is
It's now up to you.
This is the exact shit. So what these dialogue pieces that they're saying in the trailer is exactly the dialogue pieces that I got in my game, which makes me feel like this is the only dialogue that's in the game. He's talking about this viral video. Like this viral video thing is the same thing that happened in my video. It's the same exact thing.
He tells you, hey, I want to swap out all the starters.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just, again, my job is to make something that's not really fun and make it fun. So I'm going to try to do my best to do that for the next year cycle. But it's not great. It's not great. Like, if they didn't add a Steph Curry era or MyGM mode, I would not care less if that was in the game or not. I more care about the things that I mentioned earlier, where the game can exist outside of 4 years with people getting real contracts. The reality of the situation is that when they do something like this, where they don't have everybody here, they're basically just asking the community to do the job for them. They say like they give you the bare bones, right? Like, hey, yeah, there's a lot of teams here that don't exist, but guess what? There will be people that will create the right roster. This one by Def Cupcakes. Again, the game just came out. I can't tell you if it's good or bad, but what did Def Cupcakes do? They added Blake Griffin. So they're asking the community, not asking the community, but they're forcing the community to do their part. And it's lame as hell to me. I also saw something on Twitter that there's a world where 2K allows modding to happen on PC without getting pissed off about it. And that's kind of cool, I guess. But it's unfortunate that the modding community feels like they care more about the product than the actual people that are supposed to be in charge. That's all I really got. Later.